Hi guys, I didn't get the PowerPoint out in time to your hall leaders for them to be able to teach your STEM Talk Tuesday, so you're stuck with me for the day. And today's STEM Talk is all about implementing your STEM unit, being intentional and planning to be successful. This new student-driven learning is a lot like being a driver's ed teacher. You're handing everything over to the student and we wonder if they know what in the world they're doing. And allowing students to take control and take the wheel can seem a little bit scary. You may feel like the guy in this top picture right here. We wonder if they'll get everything they need if we're not explicitly telling them. And you may not even feel like you are doing your job if you're not up front and teaching in the front of the classroom. Especially with all the pressure that we're under, it's really easy to worry if they will get everything we need them to by the test. Okay? But we have to kind of shift our thinking and understand how we can facilitate students' learning and plan lessons effectively so that STEM can create opportunities for students to construct their own learning through experience. And as we all know, especially through driving, experience is the best teacher. So in preparing for your STEM day, how do you make sure all your student drivers make it safely to their destination? So if you chart their course, know where you're going, have a plan for how you're going to get there. Also know what students need to be able to do and to demonstrate that they know to you. If you were teaching driver's ed and part of the test was parallel parking and knowing what to do at a busy four-way stop, then of course throughout the course of your drive, you would want to make sure that they practice parallel parking. They show you they know how to do that, and that they also show you that they have the skills that they need to handle that busy four-way stop. So be intentional with the problems that you give the kids, and discuss the connections that you're going to make between content areas. That's another thing we have to be really intentional about. Don't leave it to chance that social studies is going to mention this, or that ELA is going to bring this in. Be intentional. Read the things that they're going to be, if you're the math teacher, read what they're going to be reading in ELA so that you can pull from that. If you're the science teacher, know what connections you can make to what they're learning in social studies. So, maybe you go through the PowerPoint that the social studies teacher is teaching. Then you're going to develop your rubrics and your checklist to make sure that you know how to tell the kids where they're going. This gives them a really good idea of what they're supposed to do so that they can meet your expectations if they know up front. And give them a timeline or kind of like a work schedule. These are the things that need to be completed in this amount of time. And last but not least, assembling the materials that students are going to need and placing them and organizing them in such a way that they can have ready access to them. So big projects like this that span several classrooms or possibly several days can be a little hard to manage, but we can make it easier if we follow these tips. So first of all, we're going to share the project, its goals, and the rubrics up front with the kids. And we're going to tell them exactly what we expect to see or exactly what outcomes we're expecting. If they're solving a problem, then their solution should do X, Y, and Z. Also plan your group. It's really easy to say, all right guys, turn your desk, or, find a partner that's not a Miss Crumbly partner, as I always tell my kids, since they had a lot of them had Miss Crumbly, and set out those good partner choosing strategies if you're going to let them choose. Or, of course, you can go back to our STEM kickoff, and there were several collaborative strategies that you could use there. There were also strategies that would hold students accountable for their role in the group. Choose one of those and make sure that you're actually implementing that part of it. Group work can be really frustrating for students whenever we're not intentional about it. One student feels like they're carrying the load, or a certain student is completely zoned out and doing something crazy. So if they have a specific strategy in place, they're more likely to take part in the learning. Also set up a work schedule or progress checklist. You can even include a spot to assign students certain duties and jobs within that work schedule. That's one collaborative strategy. Take on the role of the construction manager with your monitoring students and using the checkpoints. The construction manager isn't on the job site the whole time they're working. Rather, they kind of rotate between different job sites and make sure people are hitting their deadlines, gathering materials, helping them solve problems that they encounter. And, use sit-ins as a really good way to check for student progress and student learning in a formative kind of setting. Ask them probing questions. Ask them to go deeper if they're getting it. Or use that time to kind of scaffold that group up to catch up with the rest of the kids' understanding. So I'll leave you alone after this slide and let you kind of get something done. But for your discussion today with your group, discuss how you are going to assess students' projects. What rubric or checklist are you going to use? And make sure that really hits all the high points of what you want students to be able to understand, know, and do. Also think about which specific grouping strategy and cooperative learning strategies will facilitate the learning, and go ahead and get those lined up and know where you're going to use those. Also decide what your timeline is for the lesson. And once you decide what your timeline is for the actual lesson, back up and say, all right, that gives kids actually 30 minutes to plan and research. That gives them 45 minutes to build. And set that up in your work schedule for the kids. Go through it yourself. That's something that I've done recently, I've gotten better at, is going through and making something myself and seeing how long it takes, and then doubling or tripling that. Y'all know how that goes. And then also kind of evaluate visualize what you will be doing while the kids build, design, plan, or research. What questions am I going to ask if they're getting it? What am I going to say if they're not getting it? How will I help them with the building part without actually giving them the answers? So if you get that visual in your head, you're much more likely to actually do that thing. And if you're having a hard time kind of getting in your head what you're supposed to be doing and you want an example, then there's a really good video that I'm posting in the classroom feed called Facilitating STEM, a Model Lesson. And it's a really cute little project. I think it's a video we've actually watched before about concussions. But that teacher does an excellent job of showing how she scaffolds for certain groups and accelerates for others to get them to the same understanding. Also, the last thing is I have turned in your materials list to the central office, and as soon as those are approved, then we will go shopping for you guys and get your stuff delivered so you can actually assemble your materials. If you have any questions or concerns or need help finding anything, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email or to call my room, 50308. Be more than happy to answer questions or help out in any way that I can. Have a good rest of the day, guys. Bye.